On August 9th, 1945, an atomic bomb exploded in the center of the city of Nagasaki, causing unimaginable devastation. In just a single moment, tens of thousands of homes, infrastructure systems, and buildings were completely flattened. An estimated 80,000 people were killed immediately after the blast, along with tens of thousands more who were injured and forced to live with lifelong consequences. This was the second atomic bombing carried out by the United States military against Japan, coming just 3 days after the disaster in Hiroshima. After 2 consecutive nuclear attacks, the Japanese government was forced to declare unconditional surrender on August 15, 1945. Defeat in the war pushed the country into extreme poverty and chaos. The prolonged air raids before that had severely damaged the food production system, leading to a critical shortage of supplies. Most people were forced to live in hunger, hardship, and constant uncertainty. At this point, Japan's economy had almost completely collapsed. Before the war, the economy mainly served the production of weapons and military supplies. After the defeat, industrial output fell by as much as 90%, and average income per person dropped to just 53% of pre-war levels, the lowest point in Japan's history. The government faced enormous difficulties in ensuring even the most basic necessities for the population. Rebuilding and developing the economy under those conditions was an extremely daunting challenge. Japan suffered from a severe shortage of labor, especially adult men, due to wartime losses. At the same time, the country lacked capital, lacked financial resources, and had almost no natural resources to support economic development. Yet after just 23 years of relentless effort, Japan rose to become the second largest economy in the world, surpassing major economic powers such as France, Germany, and the United Kingdom. This miraculous growth rate is considered one of the greatest economic achievements of the 20th century, the result of a series of well-chosen strategies and policies. After its defeat in 1945, Japan was forced to accept strict terms from the United States in exchange for financial aid for reconstruction. Between 1946 and 1952, Japan received about 2.2 billion United States dollars in aid, including 1.7 billion United States dollars in grants and 504 million United States dollars in low-interest loans. In return, Japan became a strategic ally of the United States in Asia and played an important role in Washington's security strategy. Japan pledged not to build military forces for the purpose of invading other countries and not to possess weapons of mass destruction. Its armed forces were only allowed to exist for defensive purposes. The aid it received was used in a carefully planned and highly effective manner. Most of the capital was invested in foundational industries such as steel, oil refining, chemicals, machinery manufacturing, electric power, glass, and optics. The Japanese government prioritized the development of basic industries rather than pursuing overheated industrialization. Major corporations such as Nippon Steel, Hitachi, and Mitsubishi Heavy Industries were supported in restructuring and expanding production through leasing or building new factories. The most decisive factor in Japan's recovery was the strong consensus among its people around a national vision. The government set the goal of transforming Japan from a defeated nation into an industrial powerhouse, restoring national pride through economic strength rather than military power. To achieve this goal, the Japanese people placed great importance on discipline and work ethic. Banks supported companies rather than trying to maximize short-term profits. Workers not only met job requirements but often exceeded them, forming a culture of collective benefit that became a defining characteristic of Japan. The government cut military spending by as much as 90% and reinvested those resources into education, especially in STEM fields such as science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. This became the human capital foundation for later industrialization. Japan also closely analyzed Western industrial models and identified weaknesses in their supply chains. Instead of focusing on short-term competition, Japan built an industrial ecosystem based on long-term cooperation known as Keiretsu. Keiretsu refers to networks of corporations and companies that are tightly linked together into economic alliances. Members hold cross-shareholdings to share both profits and risks. At the center of each Keiretsu is usually a large bank that provides financial support for the entire system. Long-term contracts, sometimes lasting for decades, help companies remain stable in the face of market shocks. Thanks to this model, companies were able to invest heavily in research, development, and market expansion, even if it meant accepting losses in the early stages. It was Keiretsu that helped Japan accelerate its development and rapidly become the world's second-largest economy in just over 2 decades. Even so, many scholars argue that Japan's economic miracle cannot be separated from the role of the United States. The United States served as a major consumer market for Japanese goods, while also transferring technology and accepting many controversial trade policies. During this process, numerous lawsuits related to intellectual property violations and dumping arose between American and Japanese companies. Despite these controversies, it is undeniable that Japan's economic policies enabled the country to recover rapidly and rise to become one of the world's leading economic powers in the early 21st century. Be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you do not miss more history videos. Thank you all so much for the support you have shown to the channel.